Hi, everybody, and welcome to Diman's plumbing class. Our director here about the whole thing is Lenny Dutra, who is a graduate, has been here for 7 years.
Yes, sir.
And you worked in quite a few jobs around the plumbing around the city and so on and so forth. There's always a question in each shop that I go into, Lenny, that I always ask. Diman is different in this sense. Diman does a lot of service that normally, let's say, the town would have to pay for. There's a lot of things that you do that, for churches, for charities, for departments in the city, in the towns. So all of that would have to be paid for. So what I'm saying, that the uniqueness about Diman to get a new school is that the public gets a lot out of that as well.
100%.
I mean, and you know that from experience. Give us a couple of examples.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that we do have here at Diman is the house building program, which has been great. Students get out there, from the carpenters to the electricians to some of the facility management for masonry and for landscaping duties, for painting, for sheetrocking, for insulating, of course, plumbing and heating, HVAC department out there. So it's great to see the kids collaborating and working together in the field, getting that real life experience. The other thing is we're involved in the communities from Swansea, Somerset to Westport, and of course Fall River, where we've done work inside the fire departments, getting heating systems updated, get them up and running, ready for the winter. Whether it's getting them from season to season, whether it's bathroom remodels, whatever it is, that they're out there getting that hands-on experience and helping the community, being involved, and exactly saving the city money.
Lenny, we had a building that was empty for 15 years in the town of Somerset, and we were looking at that time for a studio, and Diman came forward, and you had put a letter into the Superintendent Ramos at the time, was to get permission to do it. And I said, why don't you run a class here? Why don't you just bring the students in, the teachers say that you need plumbing, you need this, you need that, you need the other, and then run a class here. Okay, and I used to love it because the class, and we, Diman, we would have never been able to afford to be able to do it without Diman. So, and my kickback to the community, to Diman students, was every Thursday I'd have a pizza party.
Okay.
But all the kids would talk about the Thursday and pizza. So all of a sudden they'd be whispering in somebody else's ear, saying that let's tell the electrical department, what have you. So instead of having one bus show up on a Thursday, I used to have 5 buses show up on a Thursday. And so that all the kids got pizza. But the most moving thing to me, and I've said this on another show in Diman, was that when it was all over and they were leaving, they all put their hands on the window of the bus to say goodbye.
Yeah.
I never forgot that. And from that day forward, I always wanted to do something to repay Diman for its sincerity, its kids, and its workmanship.
Yeah, I mean, we're fortunate. I mean, our students want to be here. They want to get in the trades. They're concerned about their careers. They're concerned about their academic grades. I mean, you want to go on co-op, you have to hold a certain grade level in your academics to stay out there in the field. So, I mean, they are definitely held accountable, and they're very responsible. I mean, they're young teenagers, and I mean, we're impressed every year with how well they're doing and how well they're moving forward in industry.
And all of the tests that you have to pass, are given to them in here. I mean, they have to be tested whether or not they can really make it, by passing these things. So
Correct.
A lot of that is all done in school before they get out of school to then go to some type of test or appraisal they make.
Correct. And one of the biggest things just for our freshmen at the freshman level is they get their OSHA 10 certification. That's huge in industry. It's mandatory to have. So they're getting that from day one. As soon as they get placed in their #1 shops in January, they get right in onto the website, do the OSHA 10 training, and they all get certified. And that went very smooth this year. So we're proud of them for that.
Lenny, you said earlier to me that there are 32 students that you have, daily.
Correct. At one time inside the shop amongst all grade levels.
Yeah.
Which is great. So the shop's broken down to a freshman area. Freshman year is introduction. They're learning how to cut and solder copper tubing. They're learning how to cut and thread black steel piping for gas piping jobs. We introduce them to PVC for drainage and venting. We also try to keep them up with the latest trends in industry as far as products and materials for water piping distribution systems, such as PEX tubing. And of course, there's all different kind of companies and different brands that have it. So
Yeah.
they're learning the different tools, the different materials, the name of tools in their freshman year is very structured. Then when they get into their sophomore year, it's a little bit more advanced. They start working on the platforms, which I mentioned earlier, resemble residential plumbing. So they're working with the power tools, drilling out 2x4s, working underneath the platforms like they were in a basement, doing vent work up top. Gives them that real life experience. And then once they get to their junior year, they've got enough experience under their belt where they get to start doing live work inside the building, which again, doing commercial work.
Is that co-op? Is that the co-op?
That's not co-op. That's just because the seniors will be on co-op, or they'll actually be doing the community projects. So that leaves the juniors in shop to do the live work inside the building, which is great because they have their whole junior year doing live work in a commercial industrial application. So now when they get to their senior year, they're out in the city doing those same type of jobs throughout these city buildings or town buildings, just like out in Westport at the DPW building. A few years back, we did brand new heating system in there, high efficiency.
Wow.
So, I mean, it's great to have those students to be able to go out in the surrounding towns in the city of Fall River to perform that live work. Like I said, whether it's old school buildings that we're going in, rehabbing, whether it's firehouses that they're working on the heating systems, it's just all around great experience for them.
And there's here, your land choked.
Correct. I mean,
You cannot get the broader base you'd like to do with each one of the classes.
correct.
And that puts the emphasis on a new school. And then, I always had a suggestion, not that I have anything to say about this, but I'd love to be able to see you get the new school, and I'd love to be able to see you be able to use this in night school.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the night school programs are big. We have our students who graduate from here. They get accredited certain time and certain tiers in the plumbing program. There's 5 tiers. They get accredited for tier 1 and tier 2. So as soon as they graduate, they go right into the code and theory for tier 3. And then once they put the amount of hours that they need in the field, then they're becoming eligible for their licenses. And, they're 21 years old or so, and they're becoming licensed plumbers in the state of Mass, which is huge. I mean,
Diman has a great reputation beyond this room. It has a great reputation out there of providing students that really are talented, and who paid attention to the class, the test, the rest of it. I mean, I don't know of any school, I could be biased, of course, but I don't know of any school that does as much for the community as Diman does.
yeah, it's great. I mean, you got to take care of your surroundings. You got to take care of the community you live in, and the students are our future. So having them out there at such an early age, I think is huge, because for me, I mean, we see it as kids that come back. I mean, we've got students calling us about paperwork, getting ready for their license, and we're like, oh my God, this kid's already going for his license. Like, wow. So, I mean, they're definitely on the track for success, and that's the rewarding part of this career. Like I said, we've got graduates from this school that are in the shop itself, and that's relatability with the students. They see that they have the same opportunity that we had X amount of years ago.
The policy, I think, is great here. When you say a kid comes into the school, male or female, and by there's a lot of females who work in the shops. They come in, they have a choice. They go to certain classes. They try them out, and I think after the first year, they kind of have to stay with the one that they have room for them, right? And usually, they're very successful at that.
Yeah, correct. They have the exploratory program, which I'm fortunate enough to be a part of. Pretty much, I believe there's 16 now shops, could be 17 if I'm mistaken, but they get to explore 13 of them. So on their application, they'll pick out their top 6, but they do obviously explore some shops that they may have not chosen. However, it exposes it to them for a few days, and then before holiday break in December, they make their final choices again. And it's really good, the exploratory program, as far as getting them exposed to different shops. We were very fortunate this year as far as getting the freshmen in. In 2 weeks, we accept 8 students in each cycle. We had, out of 16 students, we had 15 number 1 choices, and we had 1 number 2 choice. So that was a great numbers for us this year, which is great. and it'll lead right up to the sophomores from last year. Same thing, a lot of number one choices.
How about co-ed? You have a lot of co-ed? I know throughout the school.
We do have, this is a predominantly male shop, but we do have females in here. And they get right in there and they give the boys a run for their money. Trust me, by any means. We look at all our students the same. I mean, male, female, they're here, they're learning, they're working, they're engaged, they're working together, and it's great. We did have a girl on co-op last year, 2 of them, and they're both still in the trade.
Great.
They're both working in the field. They're both going, putting their hours in for their license. So they have the same opportunity everyone has. So that's what we offer here is opportunity.
Yep. I'll take advantage of it. And by the way, the marks are very good along with it.
Yeah,
SATs are really
they
up there.
have to. Like I said, they need to, if they want to get on the co-op jobs, they need to withhold a certain average in their grades. And a lot of these kids, even though they still want to get into the trades, some of them still go, down the street to BCC and take some college courses.
Yeah.
And they're slowly working towards a degree.
Yeah.
And we promote that as well because we're all lifetime learners. So knowledge is definitely powerful. So the more knowledge these kids are learning, the better, as long as they can handle it.
Yeah, well, that's it. And you're offering the opportunity for them to handle it too, Lenny. Giving them a chance to do whatever they want to do.
Yeah, there's a lot of college prep courses these kids are taking in their academics, and they're getting college credits before they even leave here. So it's pretty amazing.
It would be nice if a lot of the trades out there that have been the benefactors of Diamond students over a period of time could get some sort of cooperation for the new school. Some involvement somehow, because that's important to get in the community, there. Because
a newer school is just gonna, you got certain shops that are running out of room, and that's one thing, we're constantly moving things around and changing things to make things different and make them better. We only got so much room, so you can only do so much.
So much. Right.
So more room would absolutely be great across the board.
I forget what the number was. I think Mr. Orban was telling me the number of kids that could not get admission in the freshman year because of space. I thought it was 100 or so, a couple of hundred.
I'm not sure the exact number as far as students that didn't get in, but I know as a school total, we have just over 1,400 students.
Yeah.
And I know, I've heard, through the talks in the hallways and stuff, the school wasn't built for 1,400 kids.
No, and plus you got another, I think, 2 or 3, at least 100.
On the waiting list, you got kids trying to get in here. Sometimes students leave due to families moving, sometimes, unfortunately, for other reasons, however. But yeah, there's kids waiting, knocking on that door to get in here.
Well, and the other thing is, we talked about earlier about different things about elections, but how many children are here that are a different language completely?
Oh, we have a big diversity here at Diamond. I've, like I said, been here going on my 7th year. I've seen that growing. And it's the same in the city. It's the surrounding towns that's just getting very diverse, from Khmer population to Dominican to Puerto Rican to Spanish, African American, Portuguese.
Yeah.
And you name it, we have them.
Yeah. And and somebody has to communicate with them.
Yeah. There's a lot of different languages. We've got some great instructors here that speak multiple languages, including our principal. So that's huge. And like what you were talking about with having the phone calls and everything, with the bilingual phone book and operators on the phone that can just immediately get to the type of different languages that we have. Just on the website itself, I know that we have different settings on there for Spanish and I believe Khmer, and maybe even Portuguese as well. So yeah, the diversity is huge, but all these kids they're great, and they're getting the opportunity that they need to be involved.
We're going to take a break, and we're going to go on. You're going to take us on the floor, and
absolutely,
we're going to do the different shops.
So, if we're ready to walk around the shop right here, this is our freshman area. You can see we've got 4 tables set up. We've got a vise on each end. We've got a propane tank on each table with a hookup on each end. So what we have here is all the working stations, and this is where the freshmen do most of their work. We've got copper material onto this table, black steel onto this table. We've got some PVC under that table, and over here we've got some cast iron pipe, as well as some of the latest trends in industry as far as water piping. We got some Zern PEX over there. So on an ordinary day, we'll get all the students set up, working on certain projects. Today we got a little bit of variety. We've got a couple students over here working on a copper project. So like we mentioned earlier, one thing that they do focus on in their freshman year is introduction, and it's foundation. So they learn how to cut and solder copper tubing, which these students are doing over here. We have a few students setting up on the other end, cutting and threading black steel pipe, which we do a lot of when we're doing gas pipe. Also on boiler work, there's some black steel involved, so they get introduced how to hand thread black steel by hand. Their sophomore year, they'll actually start using these 300 machines over here, which are self-oilers, which are great because you have your cutter, your oiler, your reamer, and your die head on there to put the threads. It's much less laborish for the students, so of course they love the machines. But we save that for their sophomore year. Freshman year, we keep it simple. They're hand threading, which we'll see them doing that as well over there. And then on the far end, we have some students working on some cast iron, giving them that commercial application. They're doing some no-hub with some 4-band and 2-band clamps. So
they're
very
taking
involved.
exams as well, or they're taking?
What they're doing in the back there is the sophomore instructor. You can see in the back, he's got the technology, he's got the smart board, and we can walk in a little bit. So we've got the students working with some propane torches, portable torches. Sometimes the tanks get low underneath, so they just use a portable one. So that's what they decided to use today. We give them a little bit of choice. But in the back, that's the sophomore area. So Mr. Coppin's going over some drainage. Looks like a 3-family. So he's going over the drainage sizing, the vent sizing, different ways to vent plumbing systems. So they'll do a little bit of paperwork on it before they actually do the hands-on. Very brief, just a little touch-up on certain type code issues that they may have to be paying attention to. And also, at each table that we have, we can put the metal fab and welding shop on spot right now. Is we've got this hood system that their students came in. They did all the work for it in combination with our students, and it's great to have these hoods. So when they are actually doing the soldering, the fumes and everything are getting out into the atmosphere where they need to be. So that's, again, the collaboration that we have amongst the school, where different shops are helping out other shops doing live work inside the building. I mean, if we had to pay a company to come in here and, install that spiral ductwork, you're paying some good money for that stuff. So it's great to have them students come down and work with our students and collaborate and get a job done like that for in-house. So this young man's getting set up to do some threading on some black steel. Once he gets that set up, we'll have him show us a little demo on how to do some threading on some black steel tubing. Students back here. These students are working on some cast iron right now. You'll usually get a blueprint to follow. Right now they're doing a bathroom group, so they're just running the drainage for one toilet and one lap sink, and they're going to individually vent it. You see the students, they ended up using the Bulldog, the Hilti gun, to bolt that flange down into the concrete. They got themselves a dandy clean out right away before they 90 over and run that horizontal drain. You can see the other group started over there, and they actually put their clean out on the horizontal, which is okay because you need to put it either before or after the turn. So same project, but just different application. But you can see they're going to be cutting the threaded rod. They're going to be using F&M ringers for hangers. And the other type of cast iron that they started putting together was the resilient gaskets, which is just a different application. but we try to expose them to every type of different situation that they'll have. Once the weather breaks, it'll be really good. We got a sand pit area outside, so they'll actually practice doing some underground plumbing. So they'll actually, instead of just doing the gaskets, the Brazilian gaskets, and then doing the 2-man and 4-man clamps, they'll actually do some of the more older style of the actual lead and oak. So and then what they do here is we recycle a lot of our materials. We need to save money. We need to be able to reuse things. So we'll have them melt out a lot of the lead, and then what they'll do is they'll make pigs of lead that can get reused for when we're doing lead and oak, which is still having to be out there in commercial applications. So as old school as it is, we still need to expose our students to know how to do that. We do keep them up with the latest trends. You can see on this wall over here, we have a high efficiency boiler. And if you look up top, it's taken apart now because we got to take things apart and then they redo it. But it's ran right outside to the atmosphere. Again, a little bit of collaboration with the electrical company, the electrical shop, I should say. They came down, did all the wiring for the boiler, all the circulators, any type of component that was on that system. The students come down with their instructor and do all the electrical wiring. So it was a great project for the upperclassmen because the teacher will go over there, maybe they unplug a wire or they shut a ball valve, and then the students have to go out there and do some servicing and do some troubleshooting. You create the problem without them knowing, and they need to go and troubleshoot it and figure it out. So it's a great service experience for them. Again, the freshman level is introduction. We do teach them how to cut inside of copper tubing. They're learning the tools for that. They're learning the fittings for that. Same thing with the black steel, which I believe these young men are ready. You guys ready to thread some pipe? All right. So basically they'll be threading some half-inch gas piping, working together with the oil pan. They already know plenty of oil. I hope you have the right size there, bud. It looks big. Oh, all right, very good. So they'll be threading some half-inch gas piping, and they already know plenty of oil. Steel on steel, no good. So their freshman year, they'll learn how to hand thread with the oil pan and the hand threaders. And then once they get the hang of that in their sophomore year, they will move up to using the actual rigid 300 machines. So good body mechanics, good teamwork, plenty of oil, paying attention that it gets on the threads, nice clean threads, and they'll be ready to tighten her in. Michael and Dante are two of our freshmen that picked the shop #1, so they did great in their exploratory. They got their #1 shop. So Mr. Santos won't have to go to the gym today, as he's working his bis and tris right now. And we know we just want to thread that until that pipe's flush with the head of the die and works safely and properly. Remember, heat from underneath, move the heat around, start with the solder on top, heat from underneath. Take your time, nice and neat. Good, now do that on the side. Excellent, now give that a nice wipe with the rag. Excellent. Well, what we'll do is we'll give them like a specific diagram, a blueprint type of spec sheet, and they've got certain measurements to follow. And then they have to figure out a few of the measurements on their own with certain formulas. And then what will happen is once they have this done, is we always test every project. So whether we test it with air or if we bring it over to the mop sink and fill it with water so they can check their soldering connections. And then if they have something that they have to fix, then they fix the leak. However, when they're done, we're checking for measurements, we're checking for neatness, we're checking for leaks or lack thereof, which is always better. However, if they do have a leak, they're learning, no one's perfect, they figure out how to repair a leak. So that's why we test everything we do. Whether it's a water piping project, whether it's a waste project, whether it's gas piping, we always test everything with air or water so they can see the result of their project. And they're always taught, you know, take your time, neatness before speed. When we rush, that's how injuries happen. So we want to have a nice, safe work environment. They take their time, neatness before anything else. Speed will come with the experience. Okay, so this is our tool crib. This is where we keep most of our inventory and most of our tools. We have each aisle designated for each grade level. So this is actually the freshman level. They got some of their black steel tools hanging up on the wall here, from their pipe cutters to their hand threaders to the reamers. Got some cleaning supplies in here. But each aisle is pretty much set up the same, where on one side you'll have all the fittings, different material from copper fittings, black steel fittings, to PEX fittings, CPVC fittings. And this aisle down here, again, is just pretty much the same concept, but we've got some pipe wrenches, some hacksaws, some PVC saws, some ball peen hammers, and again, the bins on the side with a little bit of components, whether it's boiler pots with some circulators, ball valves. And the last aisle down here is set up with most of our power tools. We've got some power snakes for all the drainage that we do inside the building. Hole saw kits, right angle drills, ProPress tools. We've got camera snakes here, which, you know, gives the kids real good experience when they're snaking drains, whether it's down in a shop or inside the building somewhere in itself. We've got some more cast iron cutters, some chop saws. It needs to be neatened up a little bit. However, we try to keep it as neat as possible. We'll have students working here to resemble a supply house. So students are in here handing out tools to other students. They're handing out different materials that the students need to be doing their projects on the floor. They're responsible to return all the tools. They put them back in the place that they belong, and they do an inventory of it. And like I said, it resembles the plumbing supply house atmosphere, as getting the fittings, learning the name of tools, and giving everything to the students out on the floor. So it gives a real good experience for that.
Lenny, I want to thank, as we've gone through the shop and we've met the students, amazing what you teach them. It's amazing. I mean, especially when you have to crawl underneath, get the basement setting by going underneath the tubs and so on.
Yeah, we try to give them the most as real experience as possible. So.
Yeah. Well, that is real. That is without question real. So, first of all, Diman's very fortunate to have a guy in 7 years like you.
I appreciate
Especially
that.
involved. You're the hockey coach. Are you a hockey coach?
Yeah, one of the varsity hockey coaches over here for about 5 years now.
Yeah, there you go. Do you skate?
I do. And we just had the alumni game. So the boys always look forward to that, as well as the alumni guys. We have a current varsity hockey team plays against the alumni. Yeah. So it brings guys from the past out, which is a great fundraiser. And, you know, the students love it. So anytime they can get back at their coaches.
Lenny, thank you for letting us
We
into
appreciate
your
you
world.
guys spending your time coming in anytime.
We love being here, believe me.